Coming up on this week's episode of CEO Yourself.
And my mum says to me all the time, nothing happens before it's time. And I made a decision to walk away from an abusive relationship and to start to love Michelle. Every inch of Michelle. Love the Olympian.
Michelle Griffith Robinson is an Olympian, life coach, charity and brand ambassador. In today's episode of CEO Yourself, we deep dive her CEO superpower, positivity. Michelle, you are the light. You have the spirit. You are the most energetic source of positivity. And the first time I met you, I never felt such an immediate uplift. And that's what I want today to be about, is to share your beautiful energy and to bring positivity into our listeners' day, wherever they're at. Welcome to CEO Yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Life's about being positive. I know there's some tough things going on in the world right now, but you've got to draw on what's positive in your life and sometimes really narrow it down. And I hope that all our listeners will be able to take away a few bits for their toolbox so that on days where, it's gloomy, internally and externally, they can really kick ass.
Positivity is your superpower. So let's just dive right into it. How can the listener who is having a hard day, week, month, year, how can they shift their mindset in this moment right now? I want them to come back to this episode whenever they need it. How can they just, boom, feel better?
Ask themselves a real question. So for all our listeners out there, how real is this problem that you're feeling right now? Fear, false evidence appearing real. Are you making up a video, the worst case scenario? Because sometimes that's what a lot of us do. We think about the worst case scenario. We think about what we don't have rather than what we do have. So in the times when you're feeling like, you know what, this is tough, draw on your positive vibes, your energy. Think about those times where you've walked into a room and somebody said, I love your dress. Oh, you look great. Oh, you look really in shape. Or your children are doing so well. Think of the positive things. And at that moment, I know it's tough and I'm not going to pretend it's taken me years to work on it. And had I known this 25 years ago, hey babes, I'll be a multi-millionaire now. So it's about really homing in on your strengths, forgetting the weaknesses, draw on your strengths. What makes you shine? What makes you want to get out in the morning? Draw on those resources. Because otherwise it gets gloomy, it's heavy, and it's hard bloody work.
Something that I was taught once is if you're having a bad day, get in the shower, and when the water hits your face, fake smile until a real smile comes. And if you're listening and you're having a hard day, smile now.
Smile.
And literally within 2 seconds, you will be laughing. And it's such a silly little exercise, but it transformed me when I was in my darkest patch because it forced me to shift into positivity. Shift in the mindset. So I always say, my kids do it every morning. 3 children, 20, 17 and 10. They are blasting that music. Put on that music. Dance there with your saggy boobs, your lowering balls. Get out there and dance. Put it on, put on the music, put on your best track. So my favourite track is Optimistic by Sounds of Blackness. I've even written it in my will. I don't want anybody wearing dark colours. I want them wearing bright, bold colours. And put on Sounds of Blackness, Optimistic, and dance. I can't sing for shit. But you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I can sing better than Shirley Bassey because that's my best. That's my best. What other little exercises can we do? Because I know the physical is so linked with the mental. Mm-hmm. What are some other little tips and tricks you've learned along the way where you can literally change your mindset with a movement like that, like smiling?
So smiling's a really good one. Looking in the mirror and saying, do you know what? I'm worth it. Positive affirmations in the morning are really crucial. But actually, I have to mention the fact that, I'm an Olympian, I'm a personal trainer. Movement is key. Let's shift that mindset. Let's get down onto the floor and do a couple of deep breaths and stretches. Let's hold that movement. Let's give ourselves the space, 2 minutes every morning before you go on your phone, before you do anything else. Put your feet on the floor Give thanks and gratitude. Because when you give thanks and gratitude, straight away, you're appreciating you are here. Some people didn't make it. Some people didn't make it. You got a roof over your head. Some people don't have a roof over their head. You've got some love around you. You've got a warmth around you. You can go to your fridge, take something out your fridge. Don't take those small things for granted. And because I tell you what, when they do become a problem, you will really, really think, geez, when I used to go and buy my blueberries and my yogurt and my strawberries from Marks and Spencer's, and now I'm in Aldi or wherever else. And nothing wrong with Aldi, I'm just telling you. But don't take the small things that you have at your fingertips for granted. Movement is life. Movement is medicine. Positivity. Surround yourself with it. I love myself. People look at me on Instagram and they think, this bitch is in love with herself. Yes, I am. I am in love with me. Because for years growing up, I didn't love me.
What changed it?
Brilliant question. Let me hold this space. Recognizing my worth. Recognizing my worth. When I got to 30, I thought, look what I've achieved, but yet I'm putting myself in positions where I can be mistreated. And who was in control of that change and that shift, that mindset shift? I was. And my mum says to me all the time, nothing happens before it's time. And I made a decision to walk away from an abusive relationship and to start to love Michelle. Every inch of Michelle. Love the Olympian. Love the only sister. Love the only daughter. Love the auntie. I started to love me. And now I'm 52. Listen, there's nobody that loves me more than I love me. My husband can love me. He can love me. That's okay. I love me more than I love anybody else.
That's how it should be.
And people forget that. They forget that. And I'm not saying I'm Miss World, but I am saying I'm the best version of Michelle Griffith Robinson every time I wake up in the morning.
That's what CEO Yourself is all about, is how can we become the best version of ourselves, the CEO of our lives.
Absolutely.
How can the listener out there who perhaps is in an abusive relationship or in a terrible spot in their life, how can they take the active steps, the first steps today to get to a place of self-love?
First active step, acknowledgement. Acknowledging and accepting that they're in a difficult position, that they need support, they need to reach out, and sometimes that's difficult. But acknowledging that you're in a difficult position is probably your first step, in my humble opinion. Acknowledging that this is not right, no one deserves to treat you that way, your boss at work doesn't deserve to speak to you that way. Acknowledge that, and then find a method to go around getting out of the situation. And that's not going to happen overnight. Or challenging the situation. Check and challenge. Check and challenge. Everybody has a story behind their glory.
Tell me more about that.
My story was I was an Olympian. Before I was an Olympian, I was 12 years old at the track. Had an ability, had talent. By 15, it was recognised. By 19, I was breaking British records. By 24, I was walking into the Olympic Stadium in Atlanta with 96,000 people, representing my country, something that I'd only dreamt of. I was the first person in my school to go to the Olympic Games, the first person in my family to go to the Olympic Games, the first person. But I was vulnerable. And it's not something I share much, but I call it the environment you grow up in sometimes. You kind of get used to being in those situations because it's a comfort zone, whether that's being in a volatile environment. And my relationship at home sometimes, watching my parents, was sometimes volatile. And so that was what I thought was right. Learned behaviour. It's learned behaviour. So then you almost carry this on. And then one day you say stop, or situations happen. Then I meet my husband and he says to me, babe, you're the most beautiful woman. But the insecurities you've got, the checking my phone, that's not right. So I had to check and challenge myself. And I couldn't do it on my own. And for those listening again, I'm not telling everybody to get a life coach or to get a therapist, because we've got to think about the price. But you can check in with yourself. Are you being the best CEO of yourself? Is your behavior right? Is it correct? Does it need to be explored? Find that friend, find that colleague that can hold you accountable so that you can really challenge your behavior. And some people don't want to challenge their behavior. So everyone's, because they've got a lot of yes people around them. Oh, you're great. Oh, you're great. Oh, you're great. So they'll surround themselves with people that will, the rose-colored glasses, I should say, that they need, instead of the kick up the arse. So, and I needed the kick up the arse. My husband's like, babes, you're great, but that behavior, that's not good. Took me a long time. I was insulted. I was defensive. I'm happy to say we've been together 22 years, 3 children later. Some days are harder than others. Let's not pretend here, guys. I know you're smiling at me right now, in the shower, smiling. Listen to this. Some days aren't easy, but it's real. And it's real love and respect.
Yeah, I think the truest love is tough love at times.
Tough love at times.
Someone telling you where you can do and be better.
How can I be EBI? Even better if.
I love all these mishisms.
Mishisms and snisms, as they say.
I feel so in awe and so grateful that you're here. And the team would tell you I was so excited. Like, this was one of the episodes I was so looking forward to, because I know that this can help people. I have been quite open about the struggle that I've experienced since becoming a mother, being a control freak and a workaholic, and having motherhood just crack me open in ways that I could no longer ignore, and experiencing anxiety for the first time. You're a mother of 3. How can you encourage the listener and me to overcome real feelings like anxiety?
So we go back to the first step again, recognizing that anxiety is real. And that's slightly different from being nervous. So every time I competed, I was nervous, but I wasn't anxious. That's a big difference. So recognizing, what does that word look like? How does it manifest for you? And what can you do about it? What support can you get? So, me talking to you as a first-time mum, I understand the levels of hyper-awareness, I call it. I was hyper-aware of my daughter, Reese. She was premature. She was born at 35 weeks. I had abruption of placenta. They said it could have gone horribly wrong. And I was neurotic, and I was a control freak. And I wanted to just bounce back into my genes. I wanted to just get back for the 2004 Olympic Games. But I needed somebody next to me to say to me, do you know what? Chill. It's going to be okay. False evidence appearing real. Is she breathing? What's she doing? Why is she not doing that? Is she gaining weight? Comparison to everybody else, and going to these mums groups that are sometimes so damn detrimental to you. Mm-hmm. So for all those listeners of mothers, using that as a number one example, trust your instinct. If you feel a little bit anxious, that's okay. But don't let it start to override you. When it starts to override you, put something in place to pull you back a few steps. For all those women that can't have children or are struggling with fertility, again, explore your options. You've got every right to feel how you feel. Let's stop telling people you can't feel like that. You can. It's your journey. It's your life. But I would say to people, don't sit and wallow in self-pity for too long. Because then, you know what? That is no fun. The fun is putting on optimistic in the morning, putting on a bright coloured pink suit, dancing around, going down into the downward dog, going to the fridge, making scrambled egg and smoked salmon, going to meet a friend for a coffee, go and do a workout, go to work, empower somebody and pay it forward. Pay it forward. And that's why I work for my 3 charities. I work for my 3 charities because I want to put a smile on somebody's face. So if you think your shit is bad, my mum says to me, there's always somebody worse off than you. Gratitude again.
Talk to me about the charity work. So many of us want to be involved, but we don't know how we can be and what kind of, impact we could even really make. How can someone get involved in their local charity? How did it happen for you?
So a couple of ways. I'm an ambassador for Diabetes UK, Women's Aid and the Menopause Charity, and recently appointed trustee and non-exec director of Mental Health UK. So I'd say okay, what floats your boat? What gives you that fire in your belly? So my fire in my belly is to empower women and girls. That's my overarching thing. I want to empower women and girls to be better than they were yesterday by just doing one small thing, whether that's being a little bit fitter, making better choices, more healthier choices, healthy habits, creating healthier habits so that you can thrive in this tough world. So I was approached by Women's Aid, a young girl called Alice Living, who recently got married. She contacted me and said, Michelle, you'd be a great ambassador for Women's Aid. Do you mind if I put your name forward? Because you shared a few bits about your past. And I was like, yes, no problem. So they interviewed me. And I just felt it just allowed me to give back and recognize that my mum needed that support when she was going through a difficult time. I needed that support. And no better way than to give back to a charity and impact women and girls. So that was important to me. So how do you get involved in a charity? Find out what really floats your boat. What's your passion? What's your why? Where could you pay it forward? And there's so many charities out there, and they do need our support. Whether that's Save the Children, whether that's a breast cancer charity. There's so many charities out there. We can't think any of us are exempt, because at some point we may need one of those charities, whether it's a blood donor. We may need them to help us along the way. So first things, find out what your passion and your why is. How did I join Diabetes UK? I approached them. Again, approach. What's the fear of trying out? Go and ask them. Do you need any support? How could I support you? Could I run a half marathon for you? Could I run a 5K to raise awareness? Could I put on a coffee morning? Could I go to my school and talk to kids about the impact of depression or of anxiety? So you're raising awareness to some staff, to teachers, to pupils. So what's within your gift? Utilize it. And that's why it's so important for me to pay it forward. Then, of course, I naturally was going through menopausal changes myself, even though I'm still perimenopausal. So I wanted to give back. They approached me again. Dr. Louise Newson approached me during COVID and said, Michelle, we need more representation around menopause. How do you feel about joining our charity? And then I think the icing on the cake for me, being the non-exec director of Mental Health UK, was all of these things that we go through, whether it's diabetes or menopause or abuse, your mental health gets touched into. So I figured, do you know what? It's all very well me amplifying the voices of the charity. I want to steer the ship of the charity. And you can only do that if you're sitting at that round table, or in this case, an oval table.
In that role, what do you do? And how can someone in the UK who's suffering from mental health utilise the charity?
So my role is, I'm a non-exec director. So I will look at how the accounts, how the fundraising gets spent, and what's our mission. So our mission is around young people and mental health as well. So it's about messages, key messages. How can we get those messages out there? And, Mental Health UK is the broader one. And then we've got 4 charities, Rethink Mental Health for the UK, and then one for Scotland, one for Ireland, etc., and for Wales. So how can people reach in? Go onto the website of any of these mental health charities and put in what you think your condition might be, whether it's anxiety, depression, self-harm, bulimia, anorexia, whatever it might look like. Go on there. They've got a list of resources. Now, we've got to be honest here. We know that mental health in this country is on the increase and the resources are limited. But go on there and read, and then go and see your GP if you're feeling that you need support. Do not suffer alone. And it makes me very sad to think that sometimes all it takes is a conversation. Yeah. Look out for your friend. Look out for your person that's next to you. Look out for your neighbour. We've got so much into a world of us, ourselves. Yeah. Gone are the days like my mum growing up, we would have neighbours of all different nationalities around us. And they say, Mrs. Griffith, you want a pint of milk? You want some orange juice? Oh, here's your post. Those days have gone. And more than ever, these are the days where we really need that neighbour to look out for us, to recognise that the curtains haven't been drawn. I wonder if. Check in. Pay it forward.
I love that. I think it's so critical in everything that we're doing to give back and to think about what you can give before what you can take.
There you go. Pay it forward. And we've all got something that we can give. And you know what we can give to people? And maybe this is something when you're listening to this in your car or on the train, when you get off that train or when you get out of your car, give somebody a smile and a compliment. Because you never know, that may make the massive difference for that person who lives alone, suffers a bit of loneliness. And my daughter challenged me to this, and I have to share this. She's at university and she really wanted to, she gives a lot to homeless people. And she said, she saw this homeless guy that outside of her normal place where she goes. And she said to him, morning. And he said, oh, hello, young lady. He said, you're the first person that said good morning to me for 3 days. And she went, it's true. Just a hello. An acknowledgement. Back to what we said again, acknowledging. We don't know why that person's there, that man or woman is sitting there homeless in a desperate situation. So let's not judge. But what's within our gift? Hello. I'm not asking you to go and give because you might not have it to give. But you can give a smile or a hello.
We've been living in the countryside temporarily, and the biggest thing I noticed was that people in the countryside smile.
So much more.
As you drive down the country lane, they wave.
Absolutely.
As we go to the local Waitrose, and everyone says hello, and they speak to my daughter. And now I'm back in London this week, and I've been walking down the Fulham Road,
ignoring you, blanking you,
well, smiling and saying hello, and saying thank you at the supermarket. And people look at me at times and they think I'm mad.
Yeah.
But I think it's contagious.
Absolutely.
At times I often will buy the coffee for the person behind me in the queue. I'll just say, I'll pick up theirs.
Love that.
And I think it's such a tiny thing you can do.
Amen.
As you said, smile. Do something little. Wave. Say hello.
Hello.
Say thank you in the supermarket.
Nice.
We even have self-serve checkout now. So the number of people we're even engaging with in a day is
limited.
Drastically dropping, which is, of course, contributing to the mental health crisis.
Absolutely. Start your day how you'd want to start somebody else's day, with positiveness.
And you know what? It's actually a selfish act because it makes me feel better.
If I'm being really honest, I love the fact when somebody says, Michelle, you know when you did that dance the other day, it really brightened up my day. I'm like, yeah, baby. Did you like my suit?
That pink suit dance.
Wicked, isn't it? It's from
we
the
are
fold.
going to dance soon. I know.
It's from the fold. That pink suit's from the fold.
It's amazing.
And I love dressing up. Again, another thing for ladies, dress up. Put on your shorts, stop the judgment, let's let go of all of those insecurities that have sometimes held us back for no valid reason.
Something else I love about you, which I would have almost chosen as your CEO superpower, is authenticity. And you are wildly authentic, real, honest, vulnerable. You share the highs, but you also share the lows and the truths and the hardships. How can you encourage the listener to be more authentic with themselves and the world?
Again, it's my favourite word. Maybe we should have called this acknowledgement instead of positivity. Acknowledging that it's okay to be vulnerable. Show up as your real self. It's very difficult trying to be somebody else that you're not. Stop pretending. We can all put on the lashes, the fake tan, put the makeup on, the glamour, the best glamorous outfit that you believe is right. But let's strip that down and really start to home in on, are you genuinely happy? If not, why not? What can you do to make yourself genuinely happy? And actually, let's talk about happiness here as well. The 80-20 rule. 20% of the time, life's tough. 80%, yeah, man, I'm good. I'm rocking. I'm okay. Stop expecting 100%.
It's not realistic.
It's not realistic. And be realistic. And stop the fakeness. If I can tell, I've got 2 amazing daughters. I smile when I talk about my girls. They're the most beautiful black girls, intelligent, sporty, musical. My God, I'm proud of me and Matt for raising these 2 incredible girls. We've got a son too who's just besotted. I'm in love with him, so that's neither here nor there. But our 2 girls who are 20 and 17, they go out in the world and they demonstrate black excellence. They walk in a room, they can talk to everybody. They walk out, they can talk to the homeless man. They give. Learn environment. So it's about, and I'm saying to them, girls, don't worry about having this on. They're not big into makeup. So, and then, they're charity shop. They're very unique in how they dress. They're not precious about much at all. Authentic. They show up as their authentic selves. The middle one is a real empath. She loves people. She smiles. Her smile will brighten up the room. The eldest one is the most intelligent girl I know. A little bit more reserved, a watcher, will look emotionally intelligent, emotionally aware, but they are authentic. And I say to them, be yourselves. Because in this world that we live in today, it's very easy to think you have to be a certain way to get on. Or you have to look a certain way to get on. Or you have to mix with a certain set of people to get on. No. And it's from having your values. So authentic values. My framework is being kind. I am fundamentally a kind person. I'm not a fool, but I'm kind. I want to give. I want to give compliments. I want to leverage those other people out there. I want to say to the lady, you can do better, darling. Today, just get off at the bus stop before. Do that little 5 minutes extra. You're good enough, but you want to be even better.
Let's talk about giving. I think a huge part of feeling better is to do things for others. What's something that the listener can do today to feel better by giving?
And it doesn't have to be financially giving.
No.
Give your time. Sometimes we have conversations. We don't listen. We're having the conversation, but we're not actually listening. So today, when you get into that workplace, go up to somebody in your workplace and say to them, how are you? Start with that. 3 simple words. Not how are you, let me go make a cup of coffee, blah, 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 blah. How are you? Give the person your time. Time you can't take back. Time you can invest in someone. And like I said, you do not know what that other person has got going on behind those closed doors. You could be the change, the catalyst for a massive difference.
Let's talk about routine, because in 2020, I had the most transformative shift in my life, and it was born out of routine. I started to do the work every day religiously, waking early, meditating, moving, journaling, gratitude, affirmations. I did the work. Since then, I always try to do the work, but it's at times less consistent. But I believe that it changed my life romantically, financially, emotionally, physically. It changed everything. What is your routine and what is your recommendation to your clients on routine? I hope you're loving this week's episode. To find more inspirational resources and to shop our new product range, visit yourself.com.
I think healthy habits and routine are really important. And I think the reason why they're important, because on days when you're not feeling great, you go back to your framework of what's your normal routine. So for me, getting up in the morning, putting my feet on the floor, going into my naked downward dog and my rest stretches and my routine, going downstairs, having my scene-proof shot, taking 5 minutes, then waking up my son. That's my routine when I'm at home. And it's interesting, when I'm not at home, I've had to develop a new routine for my hotels as well, which is, again, putting my feet on the floor, doing my downward dog, naked shots again, blah, 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 blah. But the food isn't as great because then I do a lot of intermittent fasting, and that takes me out of sync. The pillows aren't the same. The bed's not the same. I don't sleep as well. So it's about managing and adjusting and being adaptable. But I always go back to a healthy routine sets me up. So for listeners out there, what does a healthy routine look like for you? Is it really healthy? Is it really making you feel good? Taking a cold shower in the morning, is that reasonable? Do you fancy doing that? There's those people talking about, going out to doing the cold showers. There's a lot of science behind it all. But do you really want to do that? When do you have your first cup of coffee? When do you have your last cup of coffee? All around a routine that works for you. Not for my neighbour, not for my best friend, that works for Michelle Griffith Robinson. What works for me? So movement, having some time out, giving myself space to think. Giving myself space to think. And the one thing that I do every single day, which is my routine, every morning, gratitude, every night, gratitude and gratefulness. And throughout the day, in the morning, journaling. So then that's my healthy habits. Structure that how you choose to. It works for me. And I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody, but get a framework that suits you.
And it's about having grace with yourself when it's not possible to do it. You know, I used to be so strict with how I did it. And now that I'm a mother, it's just not realistic to do it the same way. But I do think you can find windows in the day. Like I listen to my affirmations, they're recorded, and I listen to them back and repeat. And it might be for 3 minutes in the car.
Yep.
And I encourage myself to stop listening to that podcast or that music. Yeah. Just listen. You can find ways to incorporate it. It might not be by candlelight at 5 a.m. anymore, but I try to make it happen where I can.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important thing that you just mentioned there. Finding the small little snippets. Life's busy, right? Guys, life's busy. You're probably there now stuffing your mouth with some granola and yogurt and strawberries and chia seeds. But find some time for yourself because you deserve that. You deserve structure, a routine. You deserve non-chaotic life, headspace. And that's why I really agree with, the mindfulness type of stuff as well. Just giving yourself some time out, 5 minutes, even at the workplace when you go to work. Walk away from your desk, give yourself some time, stretch, move, reach down, touch your toes, whatever. Give yourself 5 minutes because you are worth it.
Let's talk about work because a lot of our listeners are here for the business side.
Yeah.
How can the listener be more positive in business? How can we visualize, manifest, make it happen? You've made the most extraordinary things happen in your life. Mm-hmm. How can we leverage positivity to reach new heights in business?
Belief, self-belief. Sounds ridiculous. Self-belief, mind map it, put it on paper, get somebody to agree with you, show them, showcase it, draw it, illustrate it, make it colourful, bright, horizons, big dreams, anecdotes, little quotes. Get a blank piece of paper, the A4, A5, the big ones. I want a big sheet of paper. Get some little colouring pencils, $2.99 from Tesco's, and draw out your vision and your mission. And go back to it. Sometimes you might colour it in, that didn't work out very well. If you do not have a mission and a vision, you're lost. You're just living slave to payday rather than really looking forward to payday. So I'm fortunate. I do what I love. Every day when I get up, I give thanks to the Almighty. Thank you, dear Lord, for giving me the ability to do me.
It's about telling people, not being afraid. Like, don't just keep it on that vision board. Tell people, collaborate, help other people, and then let them help you to bring it to life.
Absolutely.
And then do the work.
Do the work. And the work is, I think we touched on it before, the work might be just on yourself. Mm-hmm. So me recognizing that I couldn't be this neurotic mother that wants her baby to sleep 7 till 7 straight away and get back into my size 8, 10 jeans and jump 14 meters. That was not realistic. What support do you need to help this come to fruition? What support do you need? Understanding your vulnerability, accepting your strengths, recognize you are bloody good at something. Everyone's got a shining light, right? Everyone's got something. Utilize it, use it. But like you said, collaborate. People are scared to collaborate with people, and I don't know why. Collaborate. Nobody is stealing your idea. They ain't you.
And there's room for everyone.
Listen to me, Hermione. I said it. My best friend Marcia says, who's my accountability partner, there's enough water in the ocean for everybody to get a good drink.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. And
I believe it. So collaborate. Do you know what? Share your contacts. It's not going to take away from me sharing all my contacts. You're not me, baby. I'm Michelle. You haven't had my lived experiences, so you can't be me. And I haven't had yours. So let's collaborate. Let's think about leveraging. Let's think about positive vibes. And remember the smile in the morning, walking out the door, walking into the lift. Good morning. Have a great day. Love your hair colour. That's a nice outfit. Costs nothing.
Give, and then give some more.
Give, and give some more. And realise that business is tough for everybody out there. But we all get our little breakthroughs here and there. And I think when you're talking about business, I want to really let our listeners know, if not you, then who? If not you, then who? Give it a try. A dream is nothing if it's left on the pillow.
Amazing.
My pleasure.
I think a lot about the woman out there who's striving to change her life.
Mm-hmm.
We're all working on becoming the better version of ourselves. And something I was saying to Amelia, who I worked with yesterday, was sometimes you're so busy chasing the next hurdle that you don't realize what you've accomplished. It's so important to reflect. And I always try to say to my team, like, look how far we've come. Look what we did. You know, none of it's ever perfect, but you've got to just get it out there. How have you in business reached new heights? Any really specific pieces of advice that you can share?
Yeah, very easy, specific piece of advice. Every 3 months, I look back on how far the road I've travelled. I don't wait for January the 1st. Every 3 months, it's in my diary. It'll beat me the day before. Sit down, find the time, go through what you've achieved so far. Because sometimes we're looking at what we don't have rather than thinking of what we have got and what we have achieved. So we forget to celebrate those small magical moments of success. So stop, pause, reflect, SPR. Stop, pause and reflect on the road you've travelled and the hurdles you've overcome. And then go on to the next one, because otherwise we miss those golden moments of, you know, I celebrated when I became the non-exec director of Mental Health UK. I celebrated when QVC asked me to come back on again and do a series of talks for them. I'm like, yes, Mish, we're going in the right direction. Not quite where I want to be, but we're going in the right direction. It's one step on the ladder, closer to my goal.
Something that I've been dealing with lately, on to your point on when you became a mother, is I've had a lot of the people I love in my life recently saying to me, just slow down. It's okay to have a chapter of quiet. And we do all have chapters.
Of course.
And I'm recovering from burnout and being a workaholic. Yeah. And this beautiful new chapter is forcing me to slow down.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, I think, is when you are doing what you're meant to be doing, the universe does conspire.
Absolutely.
To support you in that flow, and it brings the people in that it needs to help you make it happen.
Absolutely.
So I think, is there anything you want to say about resistance and also knowing when it is time to change direction or to stop? A lot of the motivational quotes and things online are like, you know, there's no failure if you keep trying. You know, actually, I think it's really important to know whether it's a relationship or a job or a business even. Something I think is important is sometimes maybe you've poured all your life savings into a business, but it's actually just not going to work, and it's important to just change directions.
Yes.
How can the listener know when it's time to stop leaning in and to stop, you know, actually causing disease? When is it time to stop and to shift and to make changes?
I think when your happiness becomes compromised significantly. So we're all going to go through stages in a business relationship where you're a little bit unhappy or it's not quite going how it should be. But when it becomes overarching feeling, it's time to move things on. But sometimes people stay because they're in a rut. And again, go back to the check-in and check and challenge. Check and challenge. How is this serving me? What's the consequences of me continually doing that? What are the consequences if I change direction? You know, who can help me? What's my support system? How can I change? And really put it on paper. Because when it's on paper, it's easier to see rather than just in your head. And talk it through with 2 or 3 of your closest confidants who've got your back, who would wish you all the very best. And that way you get to really understand it's time to move things on, or actually it's just a little bit of a difficult period, because we do have difficult periods in our life. We have to accept that too. The world is not these rose-coloured glasses that we tend to want to wear. It's not, I'm smelling of all flowers. It's not that. So it's acknowledging that. Again, and I know I've used that word probably 6 times now in this episode, but acknowledging, get it on paper. And sometimes change is great, not just good. Change is great. When I retired from athletics and then went into motherhood and carried on my personal training business, I tell you what, guys, I'm booming. This girl is on fire. And I'm going to keep being on fire. It's like a new lease of life. And then you add that into perimenopause and menopause, or whether you're going through fertility or IVF or having your first baby, you reinvent yourself to your circumstances. So you, Hermione, you're a kick-ass woman that we look at. Women admire you. You've got your baby, your husband. You work hard. You've made transitions. There's nothing but respect for you because you gave it a go. No one knows how successful it's going to be, but you gave it a go. So number 1, if you're giving something a go, whether it's 3 months at a gym and you realise it's not for you, or 3 months doing CrossFit and you realise it's not for you, at least you gave it a go. Give yourself a hug. Be kind to yourself.
Now, Mish, what is your legacy piece of advice? How you would want to be remembered?
Oh, gosh, I'm going to try not to cry on this one. I think my legacy piece of advice, I want every little black girl out there to dream big and to not let their past define their future. And when I eventually close my eyes and someone reads it at the altar, they want to say, my mum or my wife or my grandmother was a woman who dared to dream big. She worked for several charities. She gave back. She helped many women. She helped many men. And she did it with a smile on her face.
And if for nothing else, this episode today has motivated, inspired, and helped so many women, everyone listening, and it's helped me so much. You are such an incredible force for change, and it's such an honour to have you here today.
Thank you. Hold it together.
Yeah, you're amazing. We will dance, but first, where can the listener find you?
Right, where can you find me, guys? I always say this. You can find me on Instagram on Michelle Griffith Robinson. You can find me on Robinson OLY on Twitter. Michelle Griffith Robinson on LinkedIn as well, or on Facebook, Michelle Amanda Robinson. But most importantly, before you find me, find you. Find you.
The best closing of all time. Thank you for being here. Honestly, amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. It would mean the world to me if you would share today's episode with someone you feel would enjoy it. And don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and leave a comment.
She can dance for a white girl! That's stereotype.
You're amazing. Thank you. You're so amazing.